we're back. This is day 4. I believe it's day 4. Yep, day 4 of another Scholar Score series. I'm here with Corey and Kelly, her mom, and we're here to talk about their journey on this college prep, getting ready for college, because this is a journey. Everybody's come on has attested to the fact that this is a journey, and it looks a little bit different for everybody, right?
Right.
All right. They have some friends and family that wanted to join us, so I'm going to give you time to tag them in. I'm going to get the Facebook group in, guys. I'm going to tag you in the feed, Kelly. So hopefully Facebook goes along with this tag. If not, let's see. Nope, it didn't tag you. So we're going to work on that. And I would ask for your patience today. We had a little bit of tech, but we're on here and we're going to talk to you guys and share the stories. And hopefully you can learn from their story. Yep, it brought it right up on my side. So I just tag you here. All right. And of course, this is interactive. So we want to make sure if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. We'll get them up on the screen, answer them for you. I'm going to get this out on my feeds. And then Corey, did you get everybody tagged that you guys want to get tagged and invited?
We're working on it right now, right?
You know,
okay.
The kids don't use Facebook, Miss Tandy. She don't. She uses Instagram, but I shared it with all my Facebook people who probably will benefit more from it since they have kids to send off to school.
Right. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to copy and paste your title over, guys. Give me one moment. It didn't copy this for you. All right, so Corey, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself since you're the least busiest out of us 3 right now.
Okay, just
so
introduce myself.
Tell everyone a little bit about your.
Okay, my name is Corey. I'm 18 years old. I'm a senior this year. When I go to college, I plan to pursue a nursing career. And yeah. Oh, and I'm going to North Carolina Central University. So yeah.
Hashtag HBCU bound.
That's
so
right.
I have a project up my sleeve for these HBCUs. We're working on it. So maybe by the time you graduate, you'll have something like this going for you too. So why did you choose that college? There's a little background noise, guys, that we can hear. Okay.
The reason why I chose that school is after doing a long list of deciding what school I wanted to go to, where I got accepted. It just seemed like a really good school, and I actually liked the stuff that they offered for me. And then most importantly, that school offered my major. So yeah, and then I also thought about going out of state as an option. So that was one of the other reasons why too.
And you did this tour with Minister Christie because she's actually the one that brought us together, right? That's how we met, was through Minister Christie. And talk about how that influenced you, because I think that's really important. That kind of changed the way you thought about what kind of college you wanted to go to and everything.
Yeah.
So what was different about when you went on that trip? She's like, yeah. Of course, she's so laid back. I told the group they're gonna check on that Cali Love and Sunshine. It's all right, Corey. She's always laid back. But there's a moment we're gonna come to where she wasn't so laid back. So what was it on that trip that made you feel like you're all the way on the East Coast in California that you would totally, both of you guys, be comfortable with her going away to school like all the way on the East Coast, like a good 3,000 miles away from home, pretty much? What was it that you saw and felt when you were on the campuses on the East Coast?
It was just more different than a Cali school. Like I felt like more people were welcome there, I guess. And then it just showed like if I, as an option, if I were to go somewhere out in the East or to a HBCU, like my professors or something, they would know who I am, if that makes sense. And they're more involved with the students. No downgrading of California school, but I feel like with the Cal school, you're not really gonna get that one-on-one experience with your professors. It's gonna be like, all right, like keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's I hear consistently from HBCU students and graduates is that they had that connection with their professors that maybe their friends and colleagues didn't have, right? And I know I didn't have that. I didn't go to a HBCU. Some things happened. Clark Atlanta, shout out Clark Atlanta University. That was my HBCU of choice, but something happened where I wasn't able to go. But I do know that experience just looks a little bit different when you go to a HBCU. So the thing we put on the title for tonight was from I Don't Want to Take This Test Anymore to Full Ride Scholar. So there was a moment, and I put on the header earlier from I Don't Want to Take This Test Anymore to Tears of Joy. So tell the audience about that journey, because I remember Corey told me at one point, I think that's probably it, Miss Tandy. I don't know. And I was like, Corey, but we have to try. Like, I'm going to set you up with this study plan and it's going to work, Corey. And I don't know did you believe me at that moment? Like, what was going through your mind when I was saying that?
I don't know, because it was like every time I would take the test, it was like I would keep getting like the same score. And I just was at the point, I was like, what's the point? Like I keep getting like a middle average score. So yeah.
Yeah. And so I think because you had taken the test twice before you hit your stride. And Corey, I gave her a study plan. She was showing up to group meetings and we were doing group study and stuff like we do with our test prep and Project 104 rides. But I was like, so now it's time. We've done a lot of strategy. We've shown like you the stuff to get it done. But now we got to work on your individual stuff. And so Corey did this 14-day challenge with me. Bless her heart. I would feel so sorry sometimes for Corey. I would see her notes coming in because they literally send me a reflection in their notes for the day. And then I go back and help and say, okay, so let's do this. Here's some changes maybe we'll make, or you're doing fine, keep going. And so Corey's notes would come in sometimes at like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning. I'll be like, this poor baby. But it paid off. It paid off. So tell me about the moment that you found out that it all paid off.
Okay, so basically my previous scores were like 800 and it was just kind of average, and I didn't really like that score that much. So it was like you were doing the 14-day thingy that you were saying, and I just kept practicing. And then also with my school and the class I was in, we also practiced with SAT. And then by the time I took the SAT, it was I'm not gonna say it was easier, but some stuff did look familiar from like practicing. And then when I got my scores back, I was like, I was really happy. I was like crying a little bit because I had jumped up 200 points. Like I was in the 1,000 range, and at first I was just in 800s. So I was happy.
Yeah, that was a moment. And Mom, tell me your version, because your version is you didn't know she got these scores back and you didn't know what was going on because Corey was in another part of the house.
We were getting dressed to leave the house that morning, and so a lot of times Corey is in the bathroom with her headphones on and she's watching movies or whatever, and so she's always like making noise or sounds or whatever, and so all of a sudden she's like, Mom, oh my gosh. And so I run in the bathroom thinking, what did this girl do? And so she was like, look. And so she showed me her phone, and she was just in tears that her scores had increased because we had been, before we signed up to do this, her dad and I had said, we're willing to invest. Are you up for the challenge? And so she would say, yeah. And then there were times when I'd have to push and be mad because she wasn't moving as fast as I wanted her to. But then, when she got that increase in her scores, she was like, yes, I did it. It's worth it. She was on board from that point on. It was like, okay, it's working, so that was a great moment. A really great moment.
Thank you for sharing that with the audience. I was so happy to hear that story. So I think that happened. It happened that she got her scores, and I ended up in California like within a week or two after that. So we got to sit down in person, like, and I had no plans. Like, it didn't even dawn on me that I was like coming an hour away, right? Like, I landed and went, wait, Corey probably lives nearby. And I was like, how far am I from you? And they came over. So I just love their energy. I love everything that they do together. Corey's the baby. So she's flying out of the nest. So tell me a little bit about, so now you've decided you're going to a HBCU. You decided you want you want to have some connection with your professors in your classroom. You hit your score and you're still trying to decide, like, what college am I going to? What college am I going to? Tell us a little bit about that.
Like,
about making that decision.
Okay, so for the longest time, I really wanted to go to a California school, and one of the schools I really wanted to go to was Cal State San Marcos. So it's a story time. So with the whole Cal State San Marcos thingy, you basically choose an alternate major. So if you don't get accepted with your first major, you can possibly get in with your alternate major, right? So for Cal State San Marcos, I got accepted on my alternate major, but when I found out I put the wrong major, I was like, oh, I can't go there on that major, because it was kind of like it was basically a minor
anthropology medicine.
Yeah, it didn't have anything to do with nursing or anything like that. So I always thought about, like, okay, I can go to North Carolina as like a second option. It was always just Cal State San Marcos, Cal State San Marcos. And then one day I had called the school, and I was like, can I change my major? And then straight off the bat, the guy was just like, no, you can't do that. And I was just like, oh, all right, you have a great day. And then
she was mad.
Yeah.
His tone made her mad. Yeah. Because he wasn't empathetic or anything. And so at that moment, that's when I said, go to a school that wants you.
Yeah. And so North Carolina wanted me on nursing, so I was like, I might as well just go there. I can do the major that I want to do, and I don't have to worry about doing the whole switching process.
But A&T was your first choice.
And North Carolina A&T was her first choice, and then she was staying in California. California CSU San Marcos was her second choice. And so let's talk a little bit about. I want to let the audience know what happened here. So she put nursing as her first major. Nursing is highly competitive in the state of California. It's highly in most parts of the country. It is really a competitive major. So what happened with that is that California has this thing of, if you declare a major and it's impacted, meaning it's competitive, so they call it an impacted major is the way they label it. You cannot change that major if you come to that college. So if they told you no for nursing, but you come for a different major, you cannot switch your major. And so we were having a conversation, how do we deal with that? Because there were still options. So I want to invite everybody to understand that wasn't like, okay, I know what I'm doing next, because there were still options on the table for her to go to school debt free, to do some transfer options. There were options for her to go, was she going to go to North Carolina A&T? Was she going to go to North Carolina Central? And I think, like, honestly, you were probably admitted to like 15 colleges, Corey. I don't even remember, because you were admitted to a lot of colleges.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so I think at this point of the school year, and that's something else to remember, guys, when I'm talking to them now, they'll be like, I don't know what you're talking about, Miss Sandy. Like, stuff that happened back in October, they don't those college acceptances and things sometimes. So just thinking through, she had a decision to make about what she wanted her college experience to be and what she didn't want it to be. And that really, I think, drove it home for her. Like, I'm going to North Carolina Central, right?
Yes.
Because we looked at some other schools, and other schools actually looked at her profile and were willing to throw her some money, but she said no, going to North Carolina Central. So tell us a little bit about the shift in mindset, because you had some pivotal moments. For me, this is for me looking on the outside. There's a moment where your mom is like, are you going to do this work? And you're like, I'm going to do the work. And then there's this moment where it's like, I don't really want to take this test again, so I don't know if I'm going to put all this work in. And the back end, look, she's like, Miss Sandy just be putting me out there. On the backside,
she know you will.
She was an avid. With love. Corey knows I
Right.
love her.
Yes.
On the back end, you were an avid. So she had been an avid for 4 years, guys. In the back end, she's an avid. They're doing some stuff, but she's still not all the way. She's not all the way in. And then she just kicks in the gear and is like, I'm gonna ride this train till the wheels fall off and see what happens. And then she just starts rolling and applying to the colleges she wants and gets accepted. But we're still looking for money at that point. So tell us about those shifts in mindset and how it was. You were an avid, and this is not to bash avid. I want to make a point here. This is not to bash avid, but sometimes parents tell me, I don't need the school has it covered. Like they're an avid, the counselors are talking to us, we're good. Tell me about that shift and where you felt like no, it wasn't mom. Yeah, mom saying no. So whoever wants to go first, tell me about the shifts that had to happen and how you felt like no, they don't got us. They don't have us. We need some more help.
She's tapping my leg
Who
for
wants
me to
to?
speak, so I'll go first.
Okay.
So
All right.
she's been an avid all 4 years, right? But had we not um, hooked up with Minister Christie, who's our pastor at church, who invited us to go on the trip to North Carolina A&T to see what that HBCU was like and any of that, we would have never known because California doesn't have HBCUs. Everything is Cal States or whatever. So one of her teachers, he was promoting HBCUs, but that was mainly just to the African American students, not as a whole. So in her AVID classes, they were having them apply to all California schools. And so I was saying, put your options out there to other places. And so she applied to 3 California schools, got into one, but then when she applied to all of her out of state schools, she got into every one of them.
Sure.
And so I was like, go somewhere where you're wanted for what you do, you know? And so she was a little disheartened. She wanted to go to San Marcos. She wanted to go out of state because I think she thought I wanted her to go out of state. So finally she asked me if I would be disappointed. And I was like, no, that's your choice. So once she realized the decision was hers, that we was gonna push, encourage her either way it went, then she kind of like was a little bit more at ease. And so once she realized that she can go wherever she wanted to go, then she started exploring other options. And then when A&T waitlisted her, one of my fraternity brothers had said, oh no, let her go to Central. So he started flooding her with information about Central. And so I said, well, you know, I kind of like them both. And so with your help and with other things, we started getting information about other schools. And, you know, you're talking about the money and there was, you know, bringing her 4 rides in. But for me, that was the only place that I have ever visited that I felt like I can just take my home and move. I just felt right at home. I felt that my kid would be safe. I felt that everybody looked like her professors looked like her. I felt like she would matter. And so once she got that mindset and we started looking at that, she just got more comfortable with it.
Yeah, so I like something you said there. You said once she realized the decision was hers. Once she realized the decision was hers. And so I want to bring up Tiffany's comment so the audience can see that. Her question was, how early did you start in this program? And Corey started in July. She actually started in July with me. And if you notice, I've said this year, I keep saying it not to be obnoxious, that I'm not taking anybody after June 15th. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and there's a shift and a jump these students have to make to go through this process. And we need to give them the time mentally and emotionally to go through it. And so she started in July. As she was going through this, it was just something new because I wasn't handling her the same way Abbott was handling her. And it was just a different journey for her. So any other questions for Kelly about the parent side of this? Like, she had to go where she was really comfortable. She really did. And Corey had to be comfortable as well, right? She had San Marcos, like I can stay home, I can stay kind of close to home and still be in California, or I can go to the HBCU side. And something else we learned about North Carolina A&T and is that they only let so many students, the whole college wide, come in from out of state. But that's not out there on their website, right? So these are things we need to understand. Sometimes when a college turns us down, it's because they have these other back end metrics. So when they waitlisted her, I don't think it was so much because everybody else had taken her and they were even offering money at that point. But North Carolina has like, it's under 20% of their kids can come in from out of state, from what I understand. And then it's even less when we talk about nursing. And so that was a difficult decision. And did we want to fight that uphill battle? And you got to know if you want to deal with that or not and make some decisions. But I loved how she said once Corey knew it was her decision, she could take a deep breath and just go in with what felt good with her. How would you describe that process, Corey? How would you describe that moment?
Like when I like, what do you mean? Like when I chose where I wanted to go?
When you realize it.
When you know it was your decision, because I know at one point, like you didn't want to disappoint your mom, and then we were talking, and I was like, Corey, see, I'm like, Corey, what do you want to do? And it was kind of like, well, I'm like, no, Corey, you have to tell us, you know.
Okay.
And so, what was that like for you as a young person with the adults? You feeling like you got to make the adults happy, but you really knowing on the inside you wanted something different.
Okay. So I'm not even gonna lie, I'm really stubborn. And I don't know. I'm just the type of person, I don't like to go somewhere and I don't feel comfortable, like no matter what it is. And I was just like, I don't want to choose a college. Like, yeah, you can transfer, but that takes time. And I was like, once I go somewhere, I want to go there. So I was like, I have to make, like, I even talked to my parents. I was like, would you guys get mad if I go here? If I get mad, would you get mad if I go here? And it was just, I don't know. It was just me trying to tell them like where I feel most comfortable, if that makes sense. And it was like, I don't want to upset. Like they weren't upset at all once they told me like they don't care where I go. But at first it just felt like you got to go here because blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I don't know if I want to go here. And that's when they told me you can go wherever you want. So
that's important to note. Yesterday, if you were watching the interview yesterday with the Combs family, they talked about Jazz. Jazz Kira said, "I want to go out of state," and her mom said, "If you want to go out of state, you can go out of state, but you have to make it where you can go out of state." And so, if that whatever that boundary is, let your kids know up front so they're not anguished and worried that they can't make the decision that they need to make. But you can't tell them that in January because they can't make the changes they need to make in order to make their dreams come true at that point. You have to tell them up front where those boundaries and everything are. And so I want to say that this has definitely been a journey. I have loved working with you guys. I love your moments where Miss Kelly, and this is for anybody who's thinking about working with me. I love those moments. Miss Kelly doesn't have a problem. She'll send me that screenshot. And it's like, hey, what's this? What am I supposed to be doing with this? And that's what I'm here for, though. I love those moments because that's what I'm here for. That means that you didn't have to sit at home and like wonder what's next. Like you had a number that you could click, like, I need help with this. Corey sent me all of her notifications about her her grants, her scholarships, and everything as they happen. And so we were able to share in the fun. One last thing before I kind of talk a little bit more about Project 100 Full Rides. Corey, what was it like having? You guys had a group. You guys had at one point. It's funny. Y'all told me y'all were sick of the regular text, that your phone was blowing up. That was you and Imani said your phones were blowing up when the group starts chatter on that text. But what was it like to have a group of teens that you could have a shared experience with from across the country?
I thought it was cool because it was like I could see all these kids that were like me going through the same steps that I was, and just saying how they felt about certain situations, how they felt about the SAT test, and I didn't feel like I was crazy about the whole SAT thingy. So
yeah, and they had like an open group of soul Monday. I was like, they had me in tears one time. Like I asked what their challenges were, and they were so supportive of each other. You would have thought that they had been friends throughout high school, the way that they were supporting each other. And I let them do that in the way that they want to do it, right? Jaskira also talked about yesterday that certain things will trigger them. Like hearing what was going on at home for her was not a good thing. So sometimes she just wanted to text when she was in college. And sometimes there's self-consciousness about how I'm looking at the moment. And so that's going to stop me from answering questions while we're on SAT prep. And my whole rule is, what's my rule about if you're not paying attention? What happens, Corey? Remember the rule?
I don't remember the rule, but you'll say something. I forgot.
One day she wasn't participating, wasn't paying attention, and she came in my room and she was like, "Mom, I am so embarrassed." And I was like, "What happened?" She says, "It's my fault. I wasn't paying attention, and Miss Tandy called me out." And she's one of those people that don't like to be embarrassed. So I said, "I bet you'll pay attention from now on." But that just
and I don't want to.
You knew that she wasn't focused.
Yeah, and so the thing is, some parents like it has to happen this way for it to be okay. In my world, it doesn't. Like she didn't have her camera on, and I knew that she wasn't doing what she needed to do. And I think for a moment it was a shocker. Like can she see? I'm sure I've had that moment myself. Don't worry about it. When I'm on Zoom too, I have that moment. Like, did they see me? But there was a moment where it was like, okay, yeah, I wasn't paying attention. So now more so, I just tell them up front, you have to turn your camera on. So I give them that option. But just know that when we're working through SAT, we have to put up boundaries that are safety boundaries for them emotionally, because this is hard work that they're doing. They're putting themselves out there. Corey, how often, so as a student in a regular classroom setting, how often do you speak up and ask questions and things like that?
Often.
Yeah, like pretty often.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I don't, but when you're in a group of strangers, how often do you do that?
Not that often. It depends. It depends. Like if I'm really confused, I'll just be like, whatever, I'll ask the question. But then sometimes I get shy. I'm like, I'll just wait till somebody asks.
Yeah. And so we have to take care of that. Just keep that in mind with your teens, is depending on their personality, they may speak up, they may not. So you got to have somebody that's going to jump in there with them and catch them even when they're too shy to ask the question, and make sure that they're still going along for this ride as much as you can. So Project 100 Full Rides, why would you, if a parent is considering this for their teen, why would you say they should consider, why should they join Project 100 Full Rides?
Me, Corey.
Either one. Whoever wants to go first.
It was a great experience. I had no knowledge of what was out there. I think I told you before, my oldest daughter, when she was in high school, they didn't have a college advisor or anything. So I felt like we missed out on a lot of opportunities because we didn't know. And so had I didn't know you. I think I had been following you like a year prior to me reaching out to you. But I trust Minister Christie, and I trust that whoever she sends my way would be somebody that will be a benefit for me and for my family. And so one morning I was on my way to work and I was like, I need to reach out to this lady now. I don't know what to do, but I knew that I only had one more year to prepare. And so I think I shared with you, when we were talking, for me and probably a lot of people, we're all in until we see the money. And so once the dollar sign came, I was like, I need to pull over. I need to process this. But you work with me, and we talked it out, and it was just all worth it. And having her scores go up and her confidence go up, it was just worth the investment. It was worth it.
Thank you. Corey, what would you say if somebody was thinking about joining their parents like, hey, I'm thinking about signing you up for this program. What would you tell them would be the reason or reasons they should join?
They should do it because at the end of the day, like at first I kind of was just like, not in a mean way. At first I was just like, why are we doing this? Like I didn't know what it was about, right? And you should just do it because I didn't know everything that I needed to know with the help of you. And I feel like if you're considering doing a program like this, you should, because you get the help that you need even when you don't like know, and it helps boost you up to do certain stuff. So
Oh, I boosted you guys. Yeah, I boost my kids up to do a lot of stuff that they don't think they can do. But that's the fun of it, right? At the end, you find out that you can actually do it. So that is a beautiful thing. And I like what you said about you don't know. Basically, sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And as an entrepreneur, I tell you guys those stories, right? About when I get stuck in my business, I'm like, so I didn't know how to do this. So you guys are gonna go on this journey with me, right? So I'm very transparent with them about I don't know 100% of everything, but this I know enough about to get you to school debt free. That gives you those opportunities to go to school debt free. Okay. Yes. So Project 100 Full Rise is a program for students. It is what I call a 360 program. So the parent is being supported. Miss Kelly was being supported as well as Corey was being supported, and they were getting their questions answered. We meet weekly on Mondays for test prep, and we don't do test prep. So if you looked at some of the big box names like Sylvan, Huntington, and all of those, they will give you a price, or a Kaplan, whatever. It doesn't matter. They will give you a set price and like, this is your price for test prep, and here you go. Some of them will give you a score increase, but once you hit that score increase, that's it. For me, we're going to work until we get there. Whatever it takes to get her confidence up, we're going to keep working, right, Corey? Even when she doesn't want to, I'm going to still be pushing the issue with you, because I knew what she wanted for herself when it came to college, and that meant she had to get the scores there, right? Yes. So the program helps them with that, but we go through essays. We get on Zoom and go line by line and make sure they understand what they're putting in their applications, and they're not just randomly like, I think this is what should go in there. Oh, I'm probably going to put this. That they understand that the parents are filling out their FAFSA, and that they're filling it out in such a way that they're not making an error that's going to cost them to lose money and opportunities for grants and other need-based money, right? So all of those things count when it comes to this. And so that's why I feel like students should sign up. But you heard what they said. So Project 100 Full Rise is open for enrollment right now. I'm taking surveys. There's a pre-session survey. Corey didn't have to go through this process last year. But we're doing something different this year because I just want to make sure that this is a good fit for you. So Project 100 Full Rise, bit.ly/scholar$survey. Scholar survey, bit.ly/scholar survey. If you know that you want your kid to have this level of support, like what Corey and Kelly had this past year, then this is the program for you to be in. If you fill this out and you don't want that level of support, there's other options out there that I have. We just need to see what's going to be best for you and your family. Ms. Liz, I want to make sure we highlight. I'm going to take this off for a moment. I want to make sure that we highlight before we get off your fans. We got Vanessa Holloman. She said, hey, fam. She's on here watching you guys. Tiffany said, wow. So some part of your story wowed her. Christy Hammond said, hey, my family. Aunt. And she said, thank you to me. Oh, that's your aunt. Okay, auntie. That's my sister. Oh, you're welcome. It has been a pleasure working with your sister and your niece. And Miss Liz Williams.
That's her adopted mom.
That's your adopted mom. Okay, cool. And then Tiffany has a question before we get off here. Let's see. What, if anything, would you change about being in the program? Is there anything you would change about being in the program?
I think I wish I had known about it earlier, so she could have worked with you like her junior year, opposed to coming in like when you had 2 seats left in her senior year. But I'm glad we just made the decision to do it. That was, yeah. I would encourage anybody to just think hard, and even if you think you know it all, I had no clue. There's still something that you may not know. Everything is changing, and I didn't submit any papers or commit to anything before I ran it by Miss Tandy, and I was always glad I did because I could have made some big mistakes.
Okay, thanks. The other thing I wanted to laugh about is I think some people were submitting their financial aid paperwork about 2 months ago, and you were like, "Did I do all of my paperwork?" Because everybody's submitting financial aid, and I'm like, "We did that in October. You're way ahead of the game. Don't worry." So we make sure that we're ahead, not running with the rest of the pack. So that's something else. We do things at different deadlines. But I just thought it was, I'm like, no, you're not, you're okay. Because they're doing their stuff like you did your stuff early. Don't worry about it. And then what would you say? If there's anything you would change, Corey?
No, there's nothing I would change. It was a good program, Miss Tandy.
All right. So now I have to come see Corey in North Carolina. You're gonna have me all across the country. I have to come hang out with you. Once this I don't know. It's COVID. Now I'm thinking, okay, yeah, we're gonna pray about it. I need to go visit y'all on campus.
Yeah. Whenever they can get there.
Yeah. So we'll be keeping you up to date about that. The other thing is we have some programming coming out. I won't let the cat completely out the bag, but Corey gave me some good input on what the class of 2020 might want. And so I'm working on getting it out there. Corey's like, which theme? So I'm gonna make sure you guys are up to date. That's the thing. I'm gonna make sure you're up to date in such a way that it helps. So if you have a class of 2020 senior in your family or whatnot, have their parents to follow me so that when I'm rolling that out, you're up to date. And then Quentin Holloway said he's looking with the eyes.
He has his kid is coming up to be a senior, so he definitely needs to tap into you.
Oh,
Quentin.
So follow me,
Yes.
and we're gonna get some stuff going. Class of 2021. You should fill out the survey, and let's do a session like I did with Kelly when we got started to see what your needs are. And then class of 2020, follow me so when I do my update about what I have in store for you guys for the rest of the year, we'll know about it. So it's been great having you guys. Much love,
Thank you.
virtual hugs. And I will talk to you soon. And we'll be back tomorrow, guys. It will be day 5. I'm trying to keep up with these days in quarantine, okay? It'll be day 5, and we have two interviews. So we have an HBCU graduate from Bethune-Cookman coming on, and we have a family out of Miami, Florida coming on to talk about sending 3 kids to college. Count it.
Wow.
They're going to be doing 3. All right. So long, Facebook family.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks for